Okay, this is another episode review of What If. This is What If Thor was an only child. I don't know if it's a season finale. They keep saying season finale, but the last one was not the season finale. But they showed another one, 7th episode. So, in this one, Thor and Loki are separated, and Thor becomes more of the trickster than Loki, and in the present, I guess, semi-present, I guess during the sort of takes place during the first Thor movie. So it's 2011 or something. Anyway, so from the story, even though they have late, yeah, it's mixed up. That universe. Jane Foster and the friend are in it. The friend who is a lot like Lindsay Ellis from the comics. Probably not supposed to be, though. I don't think they know who that is. But yeah, so yeah, so we have a story very similar to the Axiom's End. Basically, we have an alien coming to Earth that befriends the female protagonist, but he's a partier in some ways, like the accident, but not in that sense. And weird things are going on. Howard the Duck shows up. They land in Vegas. They do the freaky loud thing from Star Trek Picard, but this is Marvel. It's weird. So there's a lot of other things going on. Fury is knocked out, so the executive director is the other lady. Captain Marvel shows up to fight Thor. There's a lot of going back and forth. Clearly, they're spoofing the fan backlash on Captain Marvel, the movie, which is funny. And having Thor and her going at it, fighting. The Captain Marvel goes to, well, I guess not just Captain Marvel, but eventually the S.H.I.E.L.D. people want to blow him up. So you're going to have Captain Marvel or a nuke and blow him up. And Jane Foster somehow contacts Heimdall and goes to Freya, goes to the mother, and the mother's going to come along. And this cultural exchange, he's been drinking and perusing and stuff. During that, Loki showed up, Howard the Duck showed up, several other characters. There's even a stinger ending with some kind of robotic creatures. But yeah, that looked like the thing from from Axiom's End. No, at the end, Axiom's End creature shows up. So, but yeah, so we have this weird, so it isn't, I think that it isn't, it's a coincidence. It's not a Lindsay Ellis story, but it certainly seems like she wrote it. I don't think she did, though. It does seem like something out of that. My guess is there's a Marvel villain that looks like that from that time period, and it's just like they kind of look like Transformers, kind of like Borg kind of things. So yeah, it's a coincidence. It's just a really weird one, and then this time, since it's not a coincidence involving any of my stuff or stuff, well, I can't say it's anything we thought of because we didn't. But it is interesting. In that, it was more of a fun episode. The mother's going to show up and he has to clean up the thing and pretend like he basically coerces all of his friends into listening to him. We have cameos by Nebula and several of the Guardians of the Galaxy. We have so somehow they're able to gamble in Vegas without money, which is interesting. How does that work? There's a bit with a cell phone that Loki is a giant in this version. He's a frost giant. He breaks it. There's a bunch of little bits in there that are fun. Everybody's sort of a trickster. They imply that the Foster's friend, her friend marries the Howard the Duck in Vegas somehow. Harkening back to Howard the Duck, the Lucas version, but only a little bit. It's a nod to it. Also, we have the amusing story from back in the 90s. So I was not familiar with the Thor comics, which is weird. Back in the 90s. And I did not know that Jane Foster was the name of this Thor's girlfriend in the comics. It's sort of like if some people don't know, Mary Jane is the Spider-Man's girlfriend in Spider-Man. It's like I knew that in the 90s. I just didn't know Thor comics. They weren't as familiar as the other ones. But Iron Man wasn't really either until the live-action movies. Which is really weird because the 90s, It wasn't like I was little or anything. It was my 20s. But it was like, I didn't know. And I made this character. It was called Jane Foster. And I was like, wait a minute. People would say, like, Thor's girlfriend or something. And I wouldn't know what they were talking about. I wasn't familiar with it. Because it really was an obscure comic. People did not... People were more familiar with 90s X-Men. Everything was X-Men, X-Men, X-Men. I knew enough not to name somebody Jean Grey. But for X-Men. Or Jubilee or something. Or Wolverine. I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have named them or Juggernaut, or Magneto, or Cyclops. I knew more about the X-Men ones than the other ones. And the DC characters, I wouldn't have named somebody Diana Prince. I knew Wonder Woman. Knew of it. Yeah. But Jane Foster. A similar happenstance also in the 90s was at a bar, college in the 90s. And joking that I knew Rachel Green, and they knew Rachel Green. Now, Rachel Green was a character on Friends, which was a TV show in the 90s. I did not know Jennifer Aniston. They knew a person named Rachel Green. That was funny, because I was like, no, I don't know. I'm not on the cast of Friends. I didn't know what they were talking about. And they go, oh, it's a big TV show. I didn't know what they were talking about. Had they mentioned the character from, say, Seinfeld, I would have got that joke. Or Cheers, I would have got that joke from earlier. But yeah, but yeah, Jane Foster. How was that Jane Foster story? Anyway, so, yeah. Obviously that character had to be changed, Ariana Foster, or something else. Because it can't be Jane Foster. Well, it could be, but it would have to be like, it'd be confusing. Especially now that the Marvel movies took off as of around 2010 or so. Ever since then, we've had 25 movies, 23 movies. It seems we have 2 or 3 a year, now that the COVID thing is winding down in some places, and they've opened the theaters. We're able to have more Marvel movies and shows. I don't know why this is not just ending. Anyway, so that's it.